For hundreds of years, the Valari people believed something strange about themselves. It was told in every school, written in every book, and accepted by every leader. The belief was simple. The women of their race could not give birth. Their bodies were too large on the inside, too different, too unmatched for the process of life. Many years ago, Valari doctors had tried. They had studied, scanned, tested, and failed. Their tools were strong but not perfect. Their minds were sharp but fixed. One failure followed another. No woman ever became a mother. The final report said the Valari womb was too wide, the inner space too open, the matching process impossible. After that, no one tried again. The royal court declared it was the will of the stars. The people believed it, and the race slowly began to fade. No new child had been born on Valari for 300 years. Other planets heard about this. They called it the curse of the giants. The Valari were tall, beautiful, strong, and wise, but they had no future. They had no children. Their world was cold and quiet. Their cities were filled with memories, not laughter. Their songs were old. Their traditions were heavy. Then something changed. A human team arrived on Valari. They were not soldiers, not traitors. They were seekers of truth. The team had traveled far across the galaxy to study ancient alien myths. Their mission was to find stories that had been misunderstood. They wanted to search for forgotten facts. Most of them were young, bright, and curious. They respected all worlds, but they questioned old beliefs. Among them was a man named Tomil. He was quiet, kind, and careful. He had no big rank, no loud voice. But he listened well. He read deeply. He had one habit. He always asked why. While others moved on to the next story, Tomil stayed with the tale of the Valari. Something about it felt wrong to him. The reason behind their problem seemed too simple. He believed something was missing. Tomil asked the Valari elders for access to their old medical records. At first, they refused. They said the matter was closed. The truth had already been found long ago. But Tomil kept asking, not with pride, not with anger, but with respect. He said he wanted to understand, not to judge. After some time, a scholar named Rula gave him an old report. She said, "See it yourself. You will find nothing." Tomil took the report back to the small human station. He spent 3 nights reading every line. The words were clear, but the numbers confused him. The measurements used by the Valari were different from human units. He converted them into standard data. And that was when he noticed something strange. The inner structure of the Valari woman had been measured wrong. The scans from 300 years ago were not using modern tools. They had guessed. They had filled in blanks with assumptions. No one had ever taken a fresh look, not since the first failure. Tomil's heart beat faster. He stood up, walked outside, and looked at the great palace far in the distance. He knew he needed to speak to someone in power. Someone who could allow him to take a proper look. But who would listen to a human like him? The next day, he requested an audience with a royal advisor. The guards refused. The advisor said he was too busy. But luck walked beside Tomil that day. Soft voice behind him asked, "Are you the human who reads old myths?" He turned around. Standing there was a tall woman with soft blue skin, golden hair tied back, and a calm face. Her eyes were bright like stars in a lake. She wore no crown, but people around her bowed their heads. Tomil nodded slowly. "Yes, my name is Tomil." The woman said, "I am Alnia, daughter of the High King. I heard you are looking into our broken truth." Tomil felt nervous, but he spoke with honesty. "Yes, Princess. I believe your people may have been wrong. Not because they were foolish, but because they were too early. Their tools were not ready. Their minds were closed. Alnea looked at him for a long moment. Then, she said, "Come with me." He followed her through quiet halls, up shining stairs, into a room filled with books and light. She told the guards to stay outside. When the door closed, she sat across from him and asked him to explain everything. Tomil showed her the old report. He pointed at the numbers. He shared his new calculations. He spoke clearly, using simple terms. Alnea listened carefully. She asked smart questions. She did not laugh. She did not push him away. When he finished, she stood up and walked to the window. She looked out at her people moving slowly below. "My mother cried for years," Alnea said. "She prayed for a child. I was born through the last failed science. But I was the only one who lived. She died after I came. The doctors said it must never be done again." Tomil said nothing. He respected her silence. Alnea turned back and said, "If you truly believe what you say, then help me find the truth. Not to change history, not to break faith, but to know." Tomil nodded. "I will do it right, with your help." That was the day everything began to change. A human and a princess, a belief and a question, a myth and a chance. Not many people knew yet, but the stars were starting to shift. Princess Alnea walked beside Tomil through a quiet garden inside the royal palace. The tall trees had golden leaves that shimmered in the sunlight. A soft wind moved across the stone path. Birds with silver feathers flew above them. The air felt calm, but Tomil could see the worry in Alnea's eyes. She said, "This garden is my mother's work. She planted every tree with her hands. She believed in growth even when the world told her it was not possible." Tomil listened in silence. He knew this was not just a garden. It was a memory, a hope left behind. They sat on a smooth bench near a clear water pool. Alnea turned to him. "Tell me again what you saw in the report," she said. Tomil pulled out his tablet. He opened the files and showed her the original numbers from the ancient Velari medical scans. Then he showed his own notes. He had converted everything using modern data systems. The mistake became clear. The original doctors had believed the inner space inside Velari women was too wide for life to grow, but they had measured it using outdated tools. Alnea watched carefully. She was not trained in science, but she understood what the numbers meant. It was not a failure of biology. It was a failure of understanding. Tomil said, "Your body is not broken. It is just different. But difference does not mean wrong." Alnea leaned back. She closed her eyes for a moment. "For 3 centuries, our people believed we could not create life," she said. "We turned our energy to art, to machines, to learning. We stopped trying. We stopped hoping." Tomil asked, "Would you allow me to run a new scan? A modern one? Quiet, safe, no pain, no change, just truth." Alnea looked at him. Her voice was steady. "If I say yes, the elders will be angry. They will say I bring shame to tradition, but I am tired of silence. If you can do it without harm, I will allow it." That evening, Tomil returned to the human research ship parked outside the royal city. He worked with 2 fellow scientists, Mira and Den. He told them what he had found. They were shocked, but they trusted him. Together, they built a small scanner. It used soft light and sound to read biological structure. It was made for respect, not control. They called it the Harmony Tool. 2 nights later, Alnea arrived at the quiet chamber near the edge of the forest. She wore a long silver cloak. Her face was calm. Tomil met her at the entrance. "You are sure?" he asked. "Yes," she replied. "For my mother. For all of us." Inside, she sat on a smooth chair. Tomil activated the scanner. A soft blue. Light passed over her. It made a soft sound like wind moving through leaves. On the screen, shapes appeared. Slowly, the true map of her body formed. Tomil looked closely. He saw something that the old reports had missed. There was a chamber deep inside her body, shaped like a cradle. It was not wide and empty. It was layered. It was flexible. It was not broken. It was waiting. He turned to Alnea. "You are not only able to give life," he said. "Your body is designed for it in a way we never saw before. You do not need machines or changes. You only need balance." Alnea stood up. Her hands shook slightly. "You mean it is possible?" Tomil nodded. "Yes, with care, with the right support. It is more than possible. It is natural." Alnea sat down again. Her eyes were full, but she did not cry. "This truth has been buried for so long," she said. "It will shake the world." Tomil said, "Then let it shake. If it brings hope. But hope does not always come without danger." Later that night, as Alnea returned to the palace, someone saw her leave the lab. A servant whispered to an elder. The elder spoke to others. By morning, a group of royal advisors stood at the gates of the research station. Their faces were hard. Their voices were sharp. They said, "You have touched something sacred. You had no right." Tomil stepped forward. He said calmly, "I came to understand. I did nothing in secret. The princess gave her permission." But the elders did not care. One elder shouted, "We buried this truth for a reason. Your ideas will break our unity." Tomil looked at them with respect but no fear. "Truth does not break unity," he said. "Fear does." The royal guards arrived. For a moment, Tomil thought they had come to arrest him. But Alnea stepped out from behind them. She raised her hand and said, "Enough. I gave him permission. I asked him to help. And he has found something. We all must see." The elders fell silent. She continued, "You taught us to protect our ways. But what if our way was built on a mistake? What if we turned from life not because of truth, but because of fear?" Some elders turned away. Others lowered their heads. The king had not spoken yet, but word was sent to him. He would arrive the next day to hear everything. Tomil returned to his lab that night. He looked up at the stars through the window. Mira and Den sat nearby, working quietly. No one spoke for a while. Then Tomil said, "She has courage." Mira nodded. "So do you." Outside, the wind moved through the trees again. The garden slept, but something had already awakened. The next morning, the royal guards opened the main gates of the palace. A silver carriage rolled into the city. It carried the High King of Velari. His long cloak touched the floor behind him. His eyes were sharp, but his face looked tired. His people stood on the sides in silence. Many had not seen him in years. He had ruled for a long time. Some said his heart had become cold after losing his queen. Inside the palace hall, the elders stood in a half-circle. Princess Alnea stood in the center, calm and proud. Tomil stood beside her, holding the data tablet in his hands. The king walked in and took his seat. No one spoke until he raised his hand. "I was told there is a truth that must be heard," he said. Alnea stepped forward. "Father," she began, "this human has found something we all forgot. The reason behind our loss. The reason we stopped believing. But he did not come to judge. He came to understand. And what he found may give our people a new future." One of the elders interrupted. "He brings danger. He opens doors that were shut for a reason." The king looked at the elder but said nothing. He turned to Tomil. "Speak, human. Show me this truth." Tomil took a breath. He walked slowly to the center. His hands did not shake, but his voice was soft. "Your Majesty," he said, The old reports that said Valari women cannot give birth were made using the tools of the past. Those tools were not strong enough. The measurements were wrong. The body of your daughter is not broken. It is different, yes, but not unfit. In fact, it is designed in a unique and beautiful way. The space inside her is not too large. It is layered. It is alive. He showed the data on the screen. The scans glowed in the air above him. The shapes moved. The cradle-like organ inside Alnea's body was clear now. It pulsed softly like a quiet heart. Gasps filled the room. Many had never seen such images. Some turned their eyes away. Others stepped closer. The king asked, "And you are sure of this?" "Yes," Tomel said. "I used a new tool, a peaceful scanner. No harm was done. The result is real." The king looked at his daughter. "You agreed to this?" he asked. "I did," she replied. "And I will not hide it. This is not shame. This is hope." The king said nothing for a moment. Then he stood up. "Let the human continue his work. If he is right, we will not stop him. But if he is wrong, we will send him home." The meeting ended. The court was divided. Some wanted change. Others still feared it. But the door had opened, and the truth had taken its first step into the light. That evening, Alnea came to Tomel's lab. She brought him food and water. He had been working without rest. "You have started something big," she said. Tomel smiled. "You started it. I only followed the signs. They worked together through the night." Tomil adjusted the scanner. He wanted to make sure the results were perfect. He built new lenses and added better filters. He called it the Harmony Tool version 2. It could now read the body with more care, more detail. Alnea offered her time again. She believed in the process. She had nothing to fear now. As the scan began, Tomil saw something even deeper. A pattern that moved like waves. A signal inside the organ, a kind of code. He called Mira and Den to help. Together, they studied the data. The signal looked like a map. It showed how the organ could adapt to support life. Not just once, but again and again. Mira said, "This is more than we thought. Her body does not just allow life. It welcomes it." Den added, "The system learns. It remembers. It adjusts." Tomil nodded. "She is made for it. She always was." Alnea sat quietly, listening to their words. Her face was calm, but her eyes were full of light. "You have given me more than knowledge," she said. "You have given me choice." Tomil understood. For a long time, her life had been ruled by the past. Now, for the first time, she could imagine a future, not just for herself, but for her people. The next day, a secret message arrived from the palace. It was from the king. He asked for a quiet report. No public words, just truth, given in private. Tomil wrote everything down. Every scan, every number, every finding. He wrote it in simple words, so even those without science could understand. He placed the report in a silver box and sent it back with the royal guard. Later that night, Alnea came again. She had walked alone from the palace. "My father read your report," she said. "He says he needs time to think. But he is no longer angry. He may not speak loudly, but I believe his heart has changed." Tomil asked, "Do you trust him?" "I do," she said. "He lost much in the past, but he does not wish to lose the future." They sat together near the open window. The stars were bright above them. The forest below was quiet. Tomil looked at Alnea and said, "You know what this means. If your people can accept this truth, others will too. This could help more than just one world," Alnea nodded. "Then we will not stop," she said. "Not until the last myth is broken." That night, Tomil made copies of the data. He stored it safely, not to sell, not to share without permission, but to protect the truth in case others tried to hide it again. Outside, the wind passed through the trees. The lights of the palace shone in the distance. A new day was coming, one built on facts, not fear, and in the center of it all stood one human, one princess, and one secret lab where science met courage. The sun rose slowly over the city of Valari. The tall towers reflected the golden light. People moved through the streets with quiet steps, but something had changed in the air. A whisper was moving from house to house. People had heard about the human's discovery. Some believed it, others feared it. Many were confused. Inside the palace, the elders met again in a dark chamber. The room was round, with silver walls and a table shaped like a star. The oldest minds of Valari sat together. Their faces were cold, their eyes full of doubt. One elder named Salen spoke first. "This human has crossed a line," he said. "He has touched something sacred, something we locked away for a reason." Another elder, Harn, nodded. "He has made the people question our truth. If they believe him, our words will lose power. They will stop listening to us." A third elder, Velda, raised her hand. "We cannot stop the truth with silence. The princess has already taken his side. If we push too hard, the people may rise." Salen struck the table with his hand. "Then we must act now, before the damage grows. We must make the human leave our world." A plan was made in secret. The elders would call a public council. They would tell the people that Tomel was dangerous. They would say his scans were false. They would bring old scholars to speak against him. Their goal was not to find truth. It was to protect control. But not all minds were old. Some were awake. In the lower part of the city, a group of young Valari scholars gathered. They had seen Tomil's reports. They had read his data. They believed him. They believed in the princess. One young man named Rico stood in front of the group. "We cannot let the elders hide this again," he said. "This is not just about birth. This is about freedom, about knowledge." A young woman named Lena stepped forward. "The people are ready to hear the truth. We must help them understand. We must speak before the elders do." The group agreed. They began printing copies of Tomil's report. They shared it in markets, schools, and temples. Some copies were sent to other planets. The stars began to whisper too. Inside the secret lab, Tomil worked day and night. He was tired, but his heart was strong. Mira and Den helped him run tests, check results, and prepare for more questions. Alnea visited often. She brought news from the palace. "My father is quiet," she said. "He listens, but he does not speak. The elders are angry. They plan to call a public council tomorrow. They will try to turn the people against you." Tomil looked at her, calmly. "Then we will speak too, not with anger, with facts, with proof." He prepared a clear presentation. He added simple images. He removed complex words. He wanted every person to understand. No one would be left in the dark. The day of the council arrived. The great hall was filled. Thousands of Valari stood in silence. The king sat on his high seat. The elders stood on one side. Tomil, Alnea, and the young scholars stood on the other. Elder Selan stepped forward first. His voice was deep. "This human has brought confusion. He dares to say our bodies are not as we believed. He plays with old pain. His machines lie. His words shine, but they lead to darkness." The people listened, but their faces showed doubt. Tomil stepped forward. He did not raise his voice. He did not use hard words. He spoke slowly and clearly. "I came here to learn," he said, "not to rule, not to change your culture. But while learning, I found something that was lost. Your bodies are not broken. Your women are not cursed. The truth was always there. It was only hidden by time." He showed the scans. He showed the real structure inside Alnea's body. He showed how the organ worked. The images spoke louder than words. The people leaned forward. Some cried. Some held their breath. Tomil finished with one simple sentence. Truth is not our enemy. Fear is. The room stayed silent for a long moment. Then Alnea stepped forward. My mother died believing she was broken. I believed it too. But now I know the truth, and I will not hide it. I choose to live in knowledge, not in shadows. The crowd began to murmur. Then they clapped. Some shouted her name. Others raised their hands in support. The sound grew stronger. Hope was rising. The elders stepped back. They had lost the people. The king raised his hand. The room fell quiet. Again, he stood slowly and looked around. I have lived long, he said. I have lost much. But today I see something I thought I would never see. I see my people awake. I see them ready. I see truth. He looked at Tomil. You came with respect. You spoke with care. You did not force your way. For that, I thank you. Then he looked at Alnea. My daughter, you carry the future, and I trust you to lead it. The council ended with light in the hearts of many. The people walked out of the hall with new steps. The sky above the city was clear. A new path had opened. Later that evening, Alnea and Tomil stood in the garden. You were brave today, Tomil said. Alnea smiled. So were you. The garden trees moved gently in the wind. The stars began to shine above. The myth was breaking, and the truth had taken root. Tomil stood inside the lab with his eyes fixed on the glowing screen. The results of the last scan were clear now. The Harmony tool had done its job better than ever before. The deeper layers of the Volari organ were fully mapped. The system inside was not broken or empty. It was built to adapt. It could shift and hold life in a way even human biology could not match. Mira stepped closer and stared at the results. This proves it again, she said. There is no error. The design is complete. The system inside her body is waiting. It is not a failure. It is perfect. Tomil nodded slowly. Now we must take the next step, he said. But carefully. No risk. No rush. This is about trust. Den adjusted the Harmony tool settings. We can create a safe method, he said. Not for birth yet, but for full activation. We can simulate the process inside the chamber. Tomil looked at Alnea. She had been watching from the side with quiet focus. This part must be your choice, he said. If we test this, it will confirm everything. But it must be done only if you are ready. Alnea walked forward. Her voice was calm and steady. I am ready, she said. This truth is no longer only for the people. It is also mine. I want to know my own body. The room was prepared. The chamber was cleaned and lit with soft lights. The Harmony tool was placed around the chair. Alnea sat down slowly. Tomil stood beside her, while Mira and Den monitored the screens. The tool began to hum. A gentle field of light moved over her. Inside the chamber, a clear simulation began. The system inside her body responded. It opened gently and shaped itself just as the scans had shown. Tomil leaned forward. On the screen, the cradle-like organ formed perfectly. Layers wrapped around each other with natural order. A new signal appeared. It was slow, warm, and full of rhythm. It was the signal of readiness. The body was not resisting. It was inviting. Alnea closed her eyes. She felt something she had never felt before. Not pain, not fear. It was a soft sense of wholeness, like a key turning in the right lock. A missing part returned to its place. When the simulation ended, Tomil stepped forward. Everything worked, he said. Your system responded exactly as expected. It is real. It is functional. You are able. Alnea opened her eyes. There was peace in them. I believed it, she said. But now I feel it. My body is not empty. It holds the future. Outside the lab, news had already begun to spread. The scholars who had supported Tomel shared the latest scans with the public. They used simple terms and clear pictures. They explained the system inside Valari women. The people watched and listened. Some were surprised. Others were silent. But many were full of wonder. The old belief was falling apart piece by piece. Inside the palace, the king sat with the elders. They had seen the reports. They had heard the voices of the people. One of the elders finally spoke. "We cannot stop this," she said. "And we should not try. We were wrong. We must accept it." The king gave a slow nod. "We protected the past," he said. "But now we must protect the future. We will not speak against the truth." That same day, the king sent a message to Tomil. "You may continue your work. The lab is now under royal protection. You will be given all tools needed, but most of all you will be given our trust." Tomil read the message and showed it to Alnea. She smiled. "This is the turning point," she said. "Now we build." A new chamber was created inside the palace grounds. It was larger, brighter, and made for healing. It had everything needed for future testing and care. Tomil and his team moved their tools there. They trained new Valari scientists to use them. Tomil explained each step of the method: how to scan, how to read signals, how to run safe simulations. The young Valari minds learned quickly. They were proud to take part. Weeks passed. New tests were done with care. Each time, the same result appeared. The Valari women had not lost the gift of life. They had only lost the knowledge of how it worked. One day, a woman from the outer islands came to the palace. She had read the reports and begged to be tested. Alnea met her and listened to her story. The woman had prayed for children for years. She had lost hope long ago, but now she felt a light inside again. Tomel agreed to help her. The test was gentle. The results showed her body was also ready. Her system responded just like Alnea's. The woman cried with joy. "Thank you," she said. "You have given me back my dream." Tomel looked at Alnea and said, "This is why we started." Alnea replied, "And we will not stop." That evening, Tomil stood at the edge of the garden. The stars above were bright. He thought of his journey. He had come to study a myth, but he had found a people, a truth, and a future. Alnea joined him. "Do you miss Earth?" she asked. "Sometimes," Tomil said. "But right now, I feel like I am exactly where I should be." She smiled. "You helped us see ourselves again, and now you are part of our story." The wind passed through the trees. The leaves moved, gently. The garden felt alive. The human method had done more than prove science. It had returned something precious to a world that had forgotten it. And this was only the beginning. A soft rain fell over the city of Valari. The air smelled clean. Drops of water rolled down the silver walls of the palace. It was a quiet day, but inside the royal chamber, something important was happening. Princess Alnea stood before her father. The king looked older than before. His face showed deep thought. In his hands was a small stone, a symbol of royal decisions. When he held that stone, every word spoken in the room became part of history. Alnea took a deep breath. "Father," she said, "I want to begin the next step." The king raised his eyes. "You mean the full process," he said. "Yes," Alnea replied. "Not a scan, not a test, a real attempt. The first natural reproduction in over 300 years. The king did not speak at once. He turned the stone slowly in his hand. "You understand what this means?" he asked. Alnea nodded. "I do. If I succeed, it will change everything. And if I fail, it will still be a step forward." The king stood up. "Then I will not stop you. You carry the voice of the future. You have my trust. Outside the chamber, Tamil waited. He looked up as Alnea stepped out. She walked slowly toward him. He said yes, she told him. Tamil gave a small smile. Then we begin. The lab had already been prepared. The new room was peaceful, with white walls, soft light, and flowers placed in corners. It did not feel like a machine room. It felt like a place of life. Mira and Den stood ready. The Harmony tool was upgraded once again. This version was not only for scanning, it was designed to support the entire natural process. Tomil had spent weeks building it. He had studied human methods and Valari structure. He had found the exact balance needed to begin reproduction safely. Alnea sat in the soft chair in the center of the room. She wore a loose white robe. Her eyes were calm, but her fingers were locked together. Tomil stepped beside her. You can. Stop any time, he said. Alnea looked into his eyes. I will not stop. I want to try. Not just for science, not just for my people, for myself. Tamil gave a small nod and started the process. The Harmony tool glowed with soft blue light. It scanned the inner structure again. The same result appeared. The organ inside Alnea's body responded gently. The waves of energy moved slowly. The system opened just as it had in the simulations. Tomil moved to the next phase. A special seed, made from a mix of safe biological code, was placed inside the system. It was designed to match the Valari structure. It was not forced. It was not artificial. It was made with care, shaped from both human knowledge and Valari code. The Harmony tool released the seed into the system. The screen showed its slow movement. Through the layers. The match was perfect. The organ closed around it with natural flow. A soft light blinked. Tamil looked at the screen. It has begun, he said. Alnea felt a soft warmth inside her body. It was not sharp. It was not strange. It felt like a gentle spark lighting a dark space. For the next few days, she rested. The process was watched closely. No pain appeared. No failure showed. Her body accepted the seed fully. A tiny signal began. To grow. It was the beginning of life. Mira and Den checked the data again and again. Everything was safe. On the 6th day, Alnea returned to the lab for a full scan. Tamil held his breath as the Harmony tool showed the image. A small shape had formed inside her. It was round, soft, and warm. It moved slightly with each beat of her heart. Tomil turned to her. You are now with child, he said. It is real. It is happening. Alnea sat down slowly. I thought I would cry, she whispered, but I only feel peace. A quiet peace. The news reached the palace quickly. The king heard it in silence. Then he walked to the royal garden and stood under the oldest tree. He stayed there for hours. Some said he spoke to the spirit of the queen. No one disturbed him. The next day he called the court to a meeting. All the elders, scholars, and noble families gathered. The hall was full. The king stood in front of them. My daughter is with child, he said. The old belief is broken. The human has shown us what we could not see. We were lost in fear, but now we have found truth. He raised the royal stone. From this day forward, we welcome the path of life. We support this new age, and we honor the ones who made it possible. The people cheered. Some wept. Others fell to their knees in thanks. Hope was no longer just an idea. It had become flesh and blood. Tomil stayed in the lab checking the scans again. Everything remained strong. The child was growing. The signals were steady. There was no sign of trouble. Alnea visited him one evening. You should rest, she said. Tomil shook his head. I will rest when the child takes the first breath. She sat beside him. This world owes you more than thanks, she said. Tomil looked at her gently. You gave me a purpose. I came to study a myth, but I found meaning." She smiled. "Soon, a new voice will cry in this world, a sound we have not heard for centuries." Tomil looked up at the stars outside the window. "And when that sound comes," he said, "everything will change." The stars above seemed brighter that night. The city below was quiet, but in one small room, hope was growing stronger with each heartbeat. The sun rose slowly over the planet Valari. A golden light touched the sky. The clouds floated like soft feathers. The city below was quiet, but hearts were full of hope. Inside the royal palace, people moved with care. Servants cleaned the halls. Scholars prepared reports. Guards stood straight, watching every corner. But the most important place was the birth chamber. Princess Alnea lay on a long, soft bed. Her hands rested over her belly. The child inside her was ready. 9 months had passed. Every scan showed perfect growth. The Harmony tool had done its job. Nature had done the rest. Tomil stood near the window. He watched the garden below. Flowers bloomed in every color. Children played under the trees. For the first time in 300 years, the Valari people believed in the future. A knock came at the door. Mira entered with a calm face. "It is time," she said. Tomil walked to Alnea and took her hand. "Are you ready?" he asked. Alnea nodded. "I have waited my whole life for this moment." Den and Mira guided her gently to the birth chamber. The walls were warm white, with soft lights and calming sounds. No machines made loud noise. No sharp tools were used. Everything was natural and peaceful. The process began slowly. Alnea breathed deeply. The room stayed silent except for her steady breathing. The Harmony tool checked the signals. Everything was moving in the right way. Time passed. Pain came, but it did not break her. Her voice stayed strong. Tomil stood beside her, offering quiet support. Mira gave her water. Den watched the data. After many hours, a soft sound filled the room. A new sound, a small sound, a baby's first cry. It echoed through the palace like music. Alnea opened her eyes and smiled. "It's a girl," Mira said. She wrapped the child in a soft blue cloth and placed her in Alnea's arms. The child was healthy, with tiny fingers and soft skin. Her eyes opened for a moment, full of wonder. Tomil stood still. He had seen many things in his life, but never a moment like this. A child, born from truth and trust. Born from two worlds working together, Alnea looked at the baby and whispered, "Welcome, my daughter. You are our first light." Outside the chamber, the news spread fast. The royal bell rang across the city. People stopped in the streets. Some fell to their knees. Others hugged each other. Tears ran down faces, young and old. From spaceports and sky towers, messages flew to every corner of the galaxy. The Valari had given birth. A new life had begun. Inside the great hall, the king stood before the people. His voice echoed through the wide stone chamber. "My daughter has given us a child of truth, a child of peace. The myth is gone. The future is here." He raised his arms. "Let this child be the symbol of our new time. Let her name remind us that hope never dies." He turned toward the door as Alnea entered. She walked slowly, holding the baby in her arms. The people watched in silence. Tomil walked beside her, his eyes calm. The king stepped down and touched the baby's hand. "Her name shall be Nira," he said. "It means dawn." The people repeated the name together. Nira, Nira, Nira. The hall shook with voices. It was a sound not heard in lifetimes, not of war, not of fear, but of pure joy. After the ceremony, Alnea and Tomil sat in the garden. Nira slept in her arms. "You changed our world," Alnea said. Tomil shook his head. No, you changed it. I only helped you see what was already there. She smiled. Will you stay? Tomil looked at the sky. I came to study. I found something more. If you want me to stay, I will. Alnea touched his hand. I do. The next day, the Valari Council passed a new law. Humans and Valari would work together in science, medicine, and family development. Old books were rewritten, new schools were opened, the Harmony tool was shared with every region, other worlds sent visitors, doctors, scholars, leaders. They all came to learn. The Valari, once silent and slow to change, had become the center of a new era, and at the center of it all, little Nira grew stronger each day. She laughed. She reached for light. She reminded everyone that life was not a problem. It was a gift. Years passed. Tomil and Alnea stayed together. They raised Nira with care. She learned both human knowledge and Valari wisdom. She spoke 2 languages before she turned 5. She asked many questions, just like her father. People still told the story. They told how one human arrived on a world of silence, how he refused to accept an old belief, how he listened, studied, and cared, how a princess trusted him, how together they brought back life. The story was told in songs, in books, in schools. It was the story of Tomil and Alnea, and it always ended with the same line. One child's cry changed the stars forever.